We are live! It's Empire State of Baseball, presented by Diamond Sports Media. It is episode number 156 on a Monday, March the 16th, 2026. We're live on Instagram, X, and YouTube. And as always, powered by StreamYard. Tom's here. I don't know where you went. Tom was here just before. I just saw his big, stupid head before, but he's somewhere. What's going on, guys? Corey, Joe, what's happening?
Nothing much, man. Just looking forward to another week closer to opening day. It was a fun weekend too. We had a good time. I know for those who might have tuned in, Rich and myself were out at City Fades in Staten Island watching the WBC. I know all of us here. We were at the fantasy draft yesterday. Again, a lot of good World Baseball games. So it's been a fun weekend, and looking forward to a fun week as well.
I mean, Corey, Favs. And I know Joe's going to do the job that this deserves. Corey, Favs, something big happened over the last 24 hours. Joe, what was that big thing that happened?
The United States sent the Dominican Republic back to the DR empty-handed.
Well, more likely to send it back to like Arizona and Florida.
Yeah, mostly Arizona. But what a game yesterday. 2-1. The U.S. wins it on a beautiful pitched inning by Mason Miller. I don't care what anybody says. The ball was at the knees. We got the screenshots. It was at the knees, albeit at the bottom of the knees. But I don't care. Because the U.S. moves on. The better team did, in fact, win, despite what my man Juan Soto had to say. The better team did win. Okay? The Dominican Republic, this feared, awesome, unstoppable lineup, was scrounged and held to one single run. Yeah. One run by the great Paul Skeens, who pitched the biggest game of his life, to be fair. That was the biggest game he has ever pitched.
Had to be. That's
true. That was my whole point,
guys.
That
is the truth.
He might move up my rankings now.
He might move up Tom's rankings from 5th, but that was the biggest game Paul Skeens has ever faced.
Actually,
and it goes to show you can have the best lineup in the world, but the great pitcher is better than the best.
Well,
hitter.
I mean, let's be honest. That a Paul Skeens, who is, again, most people consider one of the one or two best pitchers in all Major League Baseball, going up against Luis Severino, who is Luis Severino in 2026.
He looked vintage. He looked vintage Sevy last night.
He did look good.
He did. I wish the game didn't end the way it did. It felt real lame to end on a ball. I know it was close, but that ball was low. That's just like I'd rather win like that than lose like that. If you told me the game went the other way and we would have lost on a ball below Judge's knee that called for a strike, I'd be pretty pissed. But my first reaction after the win was like, yes. God, that's kind of shitty way to win. For it being such a good game, you don't want it to end on a questionable call either way.
True. I agree. And especially as a Met fan, I mean, I've seen so many calls go against me. So I'm like, well, at least it went in our favor. I'll tell you what, too. I mean, we're talking about moving up pitchers' rankings for Skeens. How about Bednar having to move up a few slots in our closers' rankings? Because he worked himself in and out of trouble. And once the jam got in, he made sandwiches, man. He got the outs. Once those guys are on base.
Corey, you made mention of it, and you mentioned the fact that we were hanging out with the crew over at City Fades Barbershop on Friday. Great time over there. If you guys haven't checked out that stream, or at least the replay of the stream, go ahead and check it out. You get 3.5 hours of me and Corey doing commentary. Enrique Vargas over there joining us as well. Such a great baseball conversation we were having all together. But when that David Bednar came out and worked himself into and out of, and I'll quote Joey Bag of Donuts by saying, a David Robertson-like Houdini situation. I mean, it was the moment of that game on Friday. And I didn't think David Bednar would have an encore performance, especially against that team over there in the Dominican Republic, working himself into trouble and then working himself just out of trouble. David Bednar, arguably one of the more valuable players to the U.S. team. this far in the tournament. It's been incredible watching David Bednar and the rest of that bullpen come into stride. But listen, we're going to talk a lot about last night's game. We have a game that's in progress right now. Italy versus Venezuela. Joe, I feel like you're going to do the job by keeping us updated with score changes and whatnot. So even though we're not doing a full watch party like we did Friday, it will somewhat do a watch along, because if you guys aren't watching Venezuela versus Italy, we'll got you covered as well. We'll talk about that semifinal in progress, and that winner faces the United States tomorrow night on St. Paddy's Day, and that's why we're repping the green today, on St. Paddy's Day for the World Baseball Classic Finals Championship. Tom Wospil, let's talk rollback before we get to the rest of the show.
Let's talk some rollback, as we are just in who knows what season anymore. It was 60, then it was 30, and it was raining, and then there was going to be a tornado. But the good thing is, rollback I covered in all those different seasons and layers. But let's spring forward to those spring items, those short sleeve stuff. Let's think summer. Let's think warm. A lot of new floral prints out there in that azalea collection, if that's what you're interested in. But if you don't want the floral and that kind of stuff, other normal, quote unquote normal solids and stripes, polos, again, t-shirts, bathing suits. They kind of just keep coming out new and more stuff. I feel like I get the rollback email every day, and it's like, hey, now we make dog collars. I'm like, whoa, look at that dog collar. It's true, it's real, it's out there. I got a dog, got a dog logo here, subtle dog logo. Head over to Roback. It's RHOBACK.com. Use promo code TWASPL15. Score yourself 15% off of your first order. Again, do it. Feel comfortable, especially with this time of year. You never know. I'm wearing the hoodie right now. I think tomorrow's supposed to be like 30 degrees, but then Saturday's going to be 60. So we might be just going into more short sleeve stuff.
'Tis the season to get sick. I mean, you can't keep up with the weather. It was almost 80 degrees last week. Then it was down to 40. Now at 30. Now we're back up to 60. I mean, you can't keep up with it.
I was gonna say this too. I've had this hoodie for like 4 years, and I beat the shit out of it. I've worn this hoodie so many times. It has been washed 1,000 times, and it is still so soft. Like, this thing has been beat to hell, and it is in good shape still. So it's definitely a high quality item if you're going to be purchasing anything from Roback.
Yeah, and I guess if we're going to just oversell Roback for a second, I mean, look, yeah, quality is important. And look, I think a few folks who are going to go over the site, they're going to see some of the prices. They're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I got that. But look, use the Roback code. You take advantage of, what is it, the last call sale. I'm sure that's still going on.
30% off already.
Still get great quality stuff out of it. So head over to roback.com and use that promo code TWASPL15. For today's show, again, we're getting down to the wire of our preseason series. So we'll start getting to more of the recurring segments as we move along into season 5. We're bringing back Around the World from last week to talk a little bit more about the WBC. And then we have our predictions for the entire 2026 season. We always try to get this episode in prior to the new baseball season. What's going to be the newest bold prediction? And folks in the chat, I'm going to shout out a bunch of you in a second. Folks in the chat, get them prepared, because later on, after around, let's just say around 8:30, I'm going to ask everybody, what's your bold prediction for 2026? And I don't want to hear anybody try to kill off John Sterling again, like that weird old idiot did fucking 2 years ago. We want on-field predictions. Get it together. All right, let's get into it. All right. Look, I don't even know if that guy's still alive, but here we go. Shout out to the room here. We got Hector's in the building. Jonathan's in the building. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. I predict Tom will get rid of those hideous glasses. Tom?
I predict Aaron Rodgers will stop showing up to this stream. And you know what? I'm just hoping that's the case. I'll lose that subscriber.
Shout out to Jordan Tyler, our very own Christy Evis. Oh, God. Get over it. US still a classic. Hitman's in the building as well.
Sure,
Hitman.
You want
Chris, like, share, and subscribe. And make sure, again, if you guys are here and you're viewing, and I know a lot of you already do it, but make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Make sure to share, too. Let's get some more baseball fans in here. There's 24 people in here, even though we're 9 minutes into the thing. I know we can do better than that. Let's get more than 24 people, because we got a great show for you guys tonight. So bring them in. Bring them all. Doesn't matter. All right, around the world. Let's get into it. All right, so let's get back into the United States. Going over the Dominican Republic, 2-1 victory. There's the two offensive heroes, Roman Anthony, Gunnar Henderson. I gotta say, Tom, I did mention this earlier. I know you don't care because it was on Twitter and you don't really give a shit about the people on Twitter. I did mention the fact,
or the people here.
that last night's game, if you take into account these two players, Aaron Judge, David Bednar, and Junior Caminero, the stars of yesterday's game, all came out of the American League East. Kind of tells you a bit of what the story is going to be there in the AL East this year.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Wells had a big double also.
Yeah.
There was a spot last night where Severino, former Yankee, but it was like Severino pitching to Wells, Wells catching, Judge batting. It was like, whoa, this is something. The double Wells hit was over Judge's head. The AL East is certainly stacked, and also just to kind of continue to toot our horn about those rankings, we got a lot of shit for putting Roman Anthony in there. How's Roman Anthony now? How does that prediction look, putting him in 16th in our rankings?
Thomas, I'm glad
pretty good.
I'm glad Tom mentioned this, because one of the things that Corey, there's a lit weekend for the boys here, but there was another thing that went down on this weekend. We had our ESB League fantasy baseball draft on Saturday night, and guess who not only drafted James Wood, they drafted Roman Anthony.
No,
the very same guy who gave us so much shit for ranking him so fucking high. Keith, you fuck.
Wow. Unbelievable, man. I'll tell you what, I mean, listen, we have them top 20 for a reason. I think they're both going to have phenomenal years. It's just a shame. I threw a couple bucks. I know when we were at City Favs, I was like, hey, I want to throw a couple home run bets. I just bet Roman Anthony on the home run a little too early. But yeah, he had a great game. He's going to be a phenomenal player, as will James Wood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got to say, Anthony looks good. Watching him, I'm understanding the hype.
Can I also say this? I have no problem in the WBC just getting super pumped when Roman Anthony hits a homer, Gunnar Henderson hits a homer. But like, there's definitely people out there you see on Twitter where it's like, I have a hard time rooting for Aaron Judge because I'm a Red Sox fan. And it's like,
you're an idiot.
Like, what? Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? Like,
Aaron Judge to me is the best player in the world the last few days.
I'm
all in on it.
Again, how excited? I asked you last week when I was like watching him. How was it watching him with the throw? Because I'm telling you, that ball was hit the right field, and I immediately stood up in my living room and said, "Get him, Judge, get him!"
Yep.
And
well, that was the thing too.
An absolute moron goes. It was so dead.
Joe, we were watching that game together, and I was like, the moment Judge released that ball, I was like, Tatis, you fucking idiot!
Oh yeah,
fucking idiot!
Completely hosed.
Tatis is a giveth and taketh away player, man. I tell you, I don't get the love. I mean, I understand people who like him, but
he's incredibly talented. But
he's incredibly talented. But man, there's sometimes
judgment is not over.
Just over aggressively. And Jacob Marcy with a great catch in center and throws out. Who was that? Who was that trying to Michael Garcia? I don't know where he was going with the play in front of him, and he turns a double play, and Jacob Marcy as Italy gets out of the first unscathed. So
get the game day up over here too. I will follow along as well. But yet Italy and Venezuela. No score, Joe?
No score. Heading to the bottom of the first.
All right. But yeah, so we mentioned David Bednar at length. Judge, we talked about the call. Now, if I really want to go back on the call again, I know it's obviously been the biggest topic of discussion. One of the things that I found infuriating about this year's tournament, the same way I found infuriating about the 2023 tournament, MLB, who's hosting this event, introduced a new rule which was going to impact the game in a big way. In 2023 was pitch clock. And in the WBC, they decided not to have the pitch clock part of it because, of course, they wanted to cater to a lot of these international players that don't play with that pitch clock. So guys who are coming into spring training, starting with the pitch clock, abandoned it for about 2.5 weeks, depending how far you got into the tournament, just to go back to it in spring training. Well, this year, they're doing that with ABS. Now, my question is, and obviously, those calls from last night, ABS changes the complexion possibly of the game. I also make that same argument for Friday. And Corey, you remember how many times I bashed Bill Miller? There were calls that went against Bryce Harper. ABS would have said the other way around.
Brutal.
ABS, guys, and I want to get your opinion here. I think ABS should have been implemented throughout this tournament. MLB's hosting the event. They're funding the event. I'm sorry. International players, you're catering to MLB rules.
I think whenever you watch a lot of international competition, they tend to have their own rules. Now I know Major League Baseball is actually hosting this, but if you watch like Olympic basketball, like they have their own. There are different international rules, and I think if you really want to try to like grow the game and you want to get these other people in it, especially if they're playing in countries or maybe that they don't have the. I know Japan not with Sandy, but other countries that maybe aren't going to have the monetary commitment to a league to have something like ABS. You are a little bit excluding them by saying like, hey, there's this whole other thing. I'm fine with it not being in there for that reason.
Just 50-50. I'm 50-50 on it. I don't have a strong opinion either way in terms of whether or not to include it to match MLB for a couple of reasons Tom said, although I would like it to be this close to MLB since that's my league that I watch. My bigger question, again, this is a whole different topic, is ABS or no ABS in general. And I know you see some of the bad calls and that gives you a reason to argue for it, but I'm more of an all or nothing guy. I think at least a few times I've seen it in spring training, I think it kills the flow of the game. Even if it's only a minute, it's the flow of the game. And the whole story of Manfred in the last 2 years was trying to try to get off a few seconds here, get off a few seconds there, and you brought it all back by having this ABS rule. They should just go all or nothing, in my opinion. You either don't have ABS at all, or go all in and make it an automated balls and strikes the whole game. Don't challenge it.
I don't think they're there yet. I think what we're getting at ABS right now is the trial of ABS.
Yes.
And I think in a year or two, once they can develop it more and quicker, you will see it more. But I think they're using this year and probably next year and maybe even a third as like we need to really hone this in before we just say, hey, straight up, this is balls and strikes now as ABS.
My problem is right now the definition of what the strike zone is different between ABS and what the rule book says. And then the umpires call obviously their own strike zone. And so you're taking something that is inherently a judgment call in balls of strikes, and you're trying to draw lines on it. And my problem with ABS is, so like there was an great article written in The Athletic about it. The ABS system draws the strike zone based on the player's height, not by their batting stance, not by whether they're crouched or not, by their height. Mm-hmm. The umpire is going off of presumably a strike zone that is the width of the plate, and from your knee, it's supposed to be from the top of your knees to the letters on your chest, right? That's your strike zone. And whenever you crouch, whenever the ball crosses the plate with you crouched in your stance, that's the strike zone. So my question is, how do you take a computer to account for those things? And so to get to yesterday's perspective, right? You have a situation where it's 3-2, 2 outs in the ninth. We've all played baseball. We've all been taught, what do you do when there's 2 strikes? You protect. And when there's a close pitch, you better understand that if you take that pitch, and again, my little league coach taught me this, that if you take a close pitch, you take the at bat out of your hands. It is in the judgment.
But we're not playing little league anymore. Like these guys aren't playing little league. Like that
still holds true though. And it's not like and it's not like baseball's the only sport that does this. We act like the other sports don't have judgment calls. There's holding every single play in the NFL. There's holding on the offensive line. If you want to look at every play in the NFL, there is holding. Holding is a judgment call. Pass interference is a judgment call. Fouls in the NBA are judgment calls. So, and none of them are perfect. Even hot.
I agree with that, and I think I actually, to Corey's point, like I don't know if ABS is the right. I do think there has to be some sort of human element in it. Because that at some point we're just but
I also like what you said, dude, Tom. You called it a trial run, and if you really want to look deep into it, it's just the next step of evolution of instant replay. Remember when instant replay started, guys, all the way back in 2009? What did instant replay only cover? Does anybody remember?
Fair and foul.
It was just home runs.
Just home runs. Yeah,
just the ball go over the fence. It was a fair or foul. And then what did we see over years after clamoring that, okay, we need adjustments in the outfield. We need to figure out trap balls. We need to figure out safe out calls at first base. Now we gotten to the point where we're just in that next phase of evolution when it comes to ball strikes. There's also, this has been already experimented with, check swings, because that's always been a topic of what is considered a check swing. What's the actual plane? Because every umpire is different. I like ABS for what it is right now, but I also know this is not the final version of an ABS last, which is fine. It's going to get to a point where I think it's agreeable amongst most parties. Joe, I'm with you. I don't get the whole just they're sizing up the batter. It should really be based on where that stance is at. And I think it will get to a point, I would hope it would get to a point where it adjusts. Like anything else is adjusted over time with instant replay.
Yeah, I think the thing with instant replay was, and I remember what brought that about. Remember, it was a Delgado home run that rung off the outside of the foul pole at the base of the foul pole in Yankee Stadium. That's how that got implemented, because and you saw the ball mark on the foul pole. So that's how that got implemented. But my problem with replay is it was there to change the egregious error. It was there to change the Andres Galarraga moment. Not Andres Galarraga. Who's the?
We know you're talking. The
perfect
game.
It was to change the
Armando Galarraga.
Yes,
is the umpire.
Armando Galarraga. Yeah.
Yes, it was to change that. It was to change the Delgado game-changing home run that was called foul that was actually fair. It was to change those things, and I think ABS in its current iteration is there to change the egregious strike that the umpire falls asleep on, and to a certain extent that's okay. But what I can't get on board with is that what they've turned it into, which is, okay, the guy was out at second by a mile, but because we're not sure if the shoelace of the second baseman scraped across the top of the bag, he should be out.
Neighborhood play is dead. Neighborhood play is dead.
That stuff drives me up a wall.
I agree with that.
The same thing with the first base calls, and you're measuring the fraction of an inch on whether or not the ball hits the back of the glove while the guy's foot's there. It's a bang play. It should be whatever the judgment call was, and not going into extreme minute detail. And we're going to have games
I think
overturned.
The sending it to New York has got to end.
A tenth of an inch. I can't get on board with that.
The more Major League Baseball and other sports, as we get more and more instant replay, other sports get in bed with gambling, get in bed with the FanDuels and the DraftKings, which, by the way, FanDuel, DraftKings, if you want to sponsor our show, I'll say all of the nicest things about you. But as that happens more and more, they're gonna be scrutinized that it has to be correct. They can't have any kind of impropriety. There can't be a chance that something has happened that is gonna screw people or screw these companies. And that's the road we're going down. I would like to see it go back more the other way. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I think, if you're going to do it, like to Rich's point, like, I guess, like, let's get closer to what you're trying to get to, because I don't, but when you see the challenges right now, right, because they're just, if it's egregious, right, we'll say the Perdomo one last night was, I think a lot of people's eyes, egregious. You overturn that. But now it's like, hey, if it was off by a half of a quarter of an inch, they overturn that strike the ball. Part of me wants to say, like, listen, we're only overturning it if it's like 2 inches difference. If it's within that realm, you know what? Too bad.
I could get on board.
Maybe you should have swung.
Let me get into the chat real quick. No, just a couple comments here. Just trickle in. Jacob Petruzzi in the building. Shout out to Jacob Petruzzi. CK's here. Never mind. I was thinking about that 2003 incident when Joe said Galarraga. I think he started to talk about Moises Alou. And I only wonder, like, you put instant replay in that situation, I don't know if the call still goes to the Cubs.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Fun experiment for the future.
Alou was like in the crowd. It wasn't a what was that game 4 of the?
There's no guarantee he's making
with our two boys down the line trying to.
Listen,
get into a fight with
what they did to that poor guy. When if you watch the replay, Alou wasn't catching that ball, and what they did to Bartman, what they did to that poor fan, it was a disgrace. He was sitting in his thing. What is he supposed to do? Dive out of his chair to avoid catching the. Oh my God, I can't.
Honestly, Joe, he looks like you. You guys resemble each other. That's actually kind of wild.
Thank you. I'm the first fan that's ever lived in Chicago.
Enrique Vargas is in the building of City Fade's Barbershop in S&P. We're also told in Little League to protect anything close because the umpires suck. I mean, look, ultimately, this is I mention it as the next step of evolution in instant replay is because we're just not doing enough checks and balances. We're bringing in these umpires because
can I mention one more thing?
No,
calling balls and strikes is the most difficult job of any professional referee. That is
especially as guys are throwing harder and spin rates and
it's so incredible. It's harder than being an NFL referee. It's hard. The only thing I'll say is difficult is NHL referees have it tough because they got to know how to skate. But that is by far the most difficult job in all of sports, calling balls and strikes.
I agree, 100%.
Professional referee / umpiring.
Let's wrap up around the world because, of course, like I said, we have a game in progress. U.S. lives to fight in the championship. That's going to be tomorrow, 8:00. But who's going to join them in the championship finals? It's going to be one of these two teams here. You see big Vinny Pasquantino, Ronald Acuna Jr. representing their countries, respectively, Italy and Venezuela. So, boys, I'll just keep it really simple while the game is still going on, and I believe we still have no score in that contest. Around the room real quick. Who's winning this game and who's winning this whole damn thing? Corey Favs, I'll start with you.
I'm going with the USA to win it all. At this point, I think they've battled through adversity in a couple of games. And
who are they facing? Who are they facing?
I think they're going to play. I'm going to say Venezuela. I just think that win that they had over Japan is going to spark them tonight. I'm going to say USA over Venezuela.
I think Italy's been the surprise team in here. They've clearly, to me, they've been playing the best baseball outside of what the DR was doing. I think it's Italy. And Italy's got the best pitcher on the mound right now. You can tell Aaron Nola's probably the best pitcher in this matchup. So I'm going to Italy.
I hope it's Italy because I think it'd be cool for the U.S. to get the rematch in the game that they lost. Honestly, I don't. It so much comes down to who's pitching, and I know Nolan McLean is set to pitch for Team USA. I don't know between Venezuela and Italy who would be lined up to pitch. I think I would tend to lean towards whoever's a better starting pitcher in a matchup like that. So again, I hope Italy wins because I'd like to get the revenge on them.
I said whoever's coming out of last night's game as the winner was going to win this whole thing. So obviously I'm glad it's the United States. But for tonight's game, this is a tough one between these two teams. I think they're very well matched. I do agree with Corey. I think I'm going to go Venezuela. I think Italy's magic is unfortunately going to run out tonight. And yes, Joe, you mentioned that they have the better pitcher, the more seasoned pitcher. Venezuela's lineup, 1 through 9. The fact that they got Jackson Churiel batting 9th tells you everything you need to know about Venezuela's lineup. So very somewhat comparable to the Dominican Republic in a way, yet Dominican Republic has true either top 1, 2, 3 stars at each of their positions. But right after that, you go to Venezuela for the next crop of talent. Yeah. So I do think Venezuela is going to win, but I think the United States is riding high right now. And I think they are going to ultimately win their second WBC tomorrow night against Venezuela. So that's how I think it's going to go down. Going to go down on St. Patty's Day. So let's enjoy some car bombs. Why not? As we watch the United States drop some home run bombs on either Venezuela or Italy. Although, again, for vibes, I would not mind, the home country going out there and winning today and, making all the Jersey, Staten Island Italians very happy about tomorrow's matchup. So we'll see what happens.
You can't claim them too, Rich.
Huh? What are you talking about?
He's more Italian than he is Puerto Rican.
Well, more Italian than Puerto Rican.
If Puerto Rico was
Keith drew up. If I was on the Puerto Rican team, this part of my hair would be blonde. That's it. That's all it would be. 25% of my fucking head would be blonde. All right? Out to the Puerto Ricans. All righty. Well, let's keep it moving, Joe. Let's talk about YouTube.
Yes, you can watch us on Instagram and X, but YouTube is our preferred platform. Why we can interact with you, the chat, here on the show. So do us a favor, go over to YouTube, type in Empire State of Baseball, hit that subscribe button. It's free. And don't forget to like and share your favorite videos with your friends, family, and more. So you join the Crosstown conversation over at YouTube and check out our last episode. You can also check out our top 10 positional rankings for 2026. Trust me, those videos need some help, guys. There are more people in the chat than viewed the last video, so I expect a couple more views today from those in the chat to go check it out as well. And then you'll see our upcoming shows for the new season.
No, it's great. You mentioned the previous episode, which took place last Monday. We kind of introduced what was going on with the World Baseball Classic. More importantly, we also had our March Madness bracket, which was a fun one, 16 seed bracket to determine the best uniform. If you missed last week's episode, go find out by watching the video. I ain't going to tell you what it is. All right. And also we had another fun episode we mentioned earlier, and Enrique's in the building. I'm glad he is. It was this little guy here, the World Baseball Classic watch party this past Friday. 3.5 hours of entertainment, pure fun content. I sat in the bar. If you ever want to see me get a haircut, guess what? You can go watch the video. Middle of the video, I get a haircut live on the show. So go back and watch that. That's the watch party. And
can't miss stuff right there. Who doesn't want to see Rich get a haircut?
I mean, the people wanted it, Thomas. The people wanted it, and I fucking delivered to them. And if we got 2,000 likes on the video, I would have shaved my head bald. But we didn't get. We got like 22. But make sure to go like that more. Maybe I'll go back to the chair. All right. All righty, let's get this thing going. Our main event for tonight is our predictions for the 2026 season. We're going through it all. The standings, the World Series, the awards. We even have bold predictions at the end. So I'll ask the chat now so you guys can get ready for your answers when we get there. We save it towards the end. What is your bold prediction for the 2026 season? It could be Met related. It could be Yankee related. It could be baseball related. As long as it's an on-field prediction and we're not killing any broadcasters, all right? So let's keep it within that realm. Let's get this thing started. We start off with our standings, and we're going to run with the American League and then the National League second. So our AL predictions, and we'll just take it from a high level here. As you can see, a lot of people feel it's going to be either between the Jays and the Yankees, Royals and the Tigers. We all feel great about the Seattle Mariners. I mean, Joe, you can't not feel good about the Seattle Mariners. They had a deep run last year in 2025, and they still have a really good team that they're putting out there ahead of the 2026 season.
Yeah, and they got the best rotation in that division, maybe best rotation all in baseball. They got one of the premier power hitters in baseball. They added first baseman in Josh Naylor. So they're really at the point where they should start rattling off divisions comfortably. They're going to get some fight from Houston, I think, as always. They're going to get some fight from Texas, and to not to steal Corey's thunder, I do think they get some fight from the A's. I think the West is going to be a very, very interesting division, but they are the cream of the crop of the division, and between the pitching and the offense, they should be the runaway winner with this division. I have them winning it by more than 4. I think.
Corey Favs. Let's talk about it. Joe mentioned the A's giving the Mariners fight, and you certainly had that wild card 3.
Yeah, initially I was going to have them as my bold prediction to like be in the playoff hunt and be playoff trade deadline buyers. And I said, you know what? I'm doubling down. Let's put them in there. I do think they're probably a year early, so maybe next year would be the better time to do it. But they have such a young, fun team. So many good young players on the offensive side of the ball. I do think the pitching is their Achilles heel at the moment. Granted, if Severino looks anything like he did, in the WBC, then they're in a good spot with him. But I do think that they need a little more pitching. Maybe, again, if I said they're going to be buyers at the deadline, maybe they buy a pitcher at the deadline. I just think they have such a fun young core that could do a lot of damage offensively. And the division itself, I don't think is as good as it used to be in the past. I have the A's, outside the Mariners, because we all have the Mariners, taking the West. Outside the Mariners, I think it's anyone's game. I don't trust anyone coming out of the Central. Obviously, I think the East is going to be a dogfight to the last day. So that's where you get a room for a team like the A's, because I'm not taking someone from the Central, and I think everyone behind the Mariners, it's anyone's game of those groups.
I mean, Seattle,
very weird. Go ahead.
Seattle's biggest issue is that Cal Raleigh's a massive dick. Apparently, he's just being a shitty teammate. I mean, there could be issues
USA
in that
zone
clubhouse. I mean,
oh yeah,
what was that?
Tom, let's talk about this. Our rankings stacked against each other, kind of like the inverse on multiple lines there. And usually around these parts, I usually see the Yankees in the first column, and I'm surprised to see that you have the Toronto Blue Jays there. Explain yourself.
I just think the Yankees don't. I don't know. They don't seem to like want to win the division that much. They seem always very content, just like getting into the playoffs. In the past couple of years, I mean, what we've seen. My concern with the Yankees is they had a lot of guys offensively really brilliant. What Trent Grisham? Are we going to get that out of Trent Grisham again? I don't know. Are we going to get exactly that out of Cody Bellinger again? Like, I don't know. Yes, there were some guys that were down that could go back up. I worry if a lot of things went right for them to end up where they did last year. And I think some of those coin flips could go the other way. And Toronto's also really good. I think Toronto seems really hungry. And I could just see them. Listen, I have them taking the division by 2 games. I don't have the Yankees missing the playoffs at all. But I could just see that happening. I know we have pitching coming back. But you got to assume, hey, is that all going to go according to schedule? I know Rodon apparently looks good, and Cole's looking good, but there's always going to be setbacks and that sort of stuff. And I worry, again, that the Yankees, maybe some of those coin flips don't go their way, and that might lead to them not winning the division.
Yeah. I typically worry about it more when it comes to the pitching aspect of it in years past, if they didn't have the depth that they do at that position. I feel confident that even if you lose a pitcher, and it's going to happen, Rodon will come back. Who's to say that another pitcher is going to fall by the time Rodon's going to play? We see it all the time. But the depth that they can go to at the back end of the rotation and hopefully you get some quality out of Ryan Weathers and Will Warren, great. I mean, Joe, you saw it earlier. There's some comparisons with Will Warren and Dylan Cease. The Blue Jays pay Dylan Cease a shit ton of money to be a frontline starter that even I don't truly believe in right now. I still think
I'm more worried about the offense than the pitching. I agree with you on the pitching front. Yeah. I'm just saying that the pitching could, with the injuries, could be an issue. The Yankees offensively did a lot of things go right for them last year. And I think some of those things could not go right this year is my point.
I think when you do what Toronto did last year, which is take the defending champs to the brink.
They beat them until they blew it and gave it away.
Right into the 7th. Like when you
Game
do
6,
that, when you
should have won in 6.
Right, when you show the world that you belong in that conversation, I think the next step is inevitable for that team. I think Toronto is coming into this year knowing that they can play with any team. They beat the Yankees like rented mules in the playoffs. They beat the Yankees pretty well all year. They're not scared of them. They're not scared of the Red Sox. And now they know that they can box with the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. They know that they belong in that conversation. So I would not be surprised if you see a totally different attitude from Toronto coming into this season saying, hey, we know we're the best in this division. We know we're the best in the AL because we proved it by going neck and neck with the Dodgers. So I really think Toronto's in a good position. I know they're missing a bat in the lineup. I know Santander got hurt. I know they lost Bo Bichette, but they
barely played last year.
Right. They survived most of the year last year without both of those guys for extended periods of time. So I really don't think they're going to have a problem there. They have, as far as pitching depth is concerned, I mean, you look at that rotation, they got 6 guys, professional pitchers, not to mention the young stud prospect who's going to be a Rookie of the Year favorite this year. Spoiler alert. They're primed for it. I don't trust Hoffman as far as I could throw him. He's a problem in a big game. As far as the regular season, he's okay, but that would be my biggest concern as far as big game closing it out.
I think it's a lot of give and take in their off season. Yes, they had some bright spots, but again, losing a bat like Bo Bichette, and I know you guys just mentioned it, he wasn't there for the majority of the season. They still played fine. I think it is going to end up hurting them. I can't expect George Springer to do exactly what he did again in that age 37, guys. I can't expect these guys like Nathan Lucas, who I think is hurt, Addison Barger, some of the same players that we saw, Ernie Clement. I don't see these guys doing exactly what they did again. I just, not to say, like, I know we talk about regression and everybody and Yankee fans are like Trent Grisham, but I do see this a lot with a lot of the players that the Blue Jays simply got the best out of. And I do think the Yankees do get in. And I usually don't praise the Yankees this much, guys. I've said it last year. I thought the Red Sox were going to win the World Series. Everybody fucking remembers it. So when it comes down to it, I'm telling you, I think the Yankees are going to come in more hungry than we expect. And I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. And it's going to be a dogfight. That's why it was one game of separation between the Jays and the Yankees. It's going to literally come down to, just like this past year, final couple of days for somebody win the AL East.
And don't sleep on the Red
best
Sox.
division of baseball.
Yeah, easily.
Don't sleep on the Red Sox. They got. Hold
on. I don't think
I have a wild card. So yeah, we all have them in the wild card.
Nobody did.
That's a young team that's hungry, and I'm like I said before, I'm really impressed with Roman Anthony. I think they got enough there to
National League. And look at that. The New York Mets fill out the entire left column as NL East winners. Actually, fun fact, I had the Yankees and the Mets finishing with the same exact record. Yankees would finish with a 94-68 record 3 years in a row, which I think is kind of wild. I don't know. That's my three-peat, because you got the fucking Dodgers and everybody averaging them out at around like 102 wins per host here. But, no surprises there. But, actually, maybe it is a big surprise. Corey, what do you think of that? Mets across all four hosts, first in the East.
I know. I definitely did not see this coming. And we're all basically in the same ballpark, too. Everyone's at 94. I'm at 92. I think it's going to be a fun year, though, for the Mets. I have a lot of excitement for the Mets. And when we get to the next set of awards, I'm going to start to put together a story as to why I think the Mets are going to win the division. And you'll see that in the next set of conversations. But I think it's interesting. I think Philly, you don't know what's going to happen with Zach Wheeler. Is Zach Wheeler going to come back a few weeks from now and be close to what he was? If so, they have the best 1-2 punch in the National League East with him and Sanchez. Now, granted, I think the Mets are going to be right there with them, but that will be the best proven 1-2 punch. They still have Schwarber and Harper. Again, Harper, I don't think he's going to be the elite player he was just a few seasons ago. He's still a phenomenal player. Kyle Schwarber is the best DH of the game outside of Shohei Ohtani, who's going to hit 40-plus home runs guaranteed. But I think it's going to be a fun dogfight between these two teams. And I think the race between the Mets and the Phillies will be right there with the AL East. The AL East, the only difference is you have another team in the mix. You have three teams duking it out. I think it's going to be back and forth all season. It's not going to be like last year where the Mets built a big lead and then slow faded. And then all of a sudden you hit August and it starts to go the other direction where the Phillies built a big lead. It's going to be a dogfight from start to finish.
Yeah, my big issue with the Phillies right now is you look at their outfield roster, and it is absolutely abysmal. Right now on their 40-man, their outfield roster, Jack Barger, Joel Dragoo, Aroldis Garcia, Jonathan Hogart, Brandon Marsh, and Johan Rojas, who just got suspended 80 games for steroids.
Yep.
All right, which, by the way, is the third Philly in the last year that's gotten suspended for steroids, including Max Kepler and Jose Alvarado. I have a problem thinking Harper at 33 years old can no longer carry this offense. Trey Turner's 32. Kyle Schwarber's 33. These guys are getting old, and they don't have enough coming up to supplant the fact that these guys are going to start regressing. Harper's not the same player he was. He doesn't.
You still got him at 90. Listen, Joe, you still got him at 90 wins though. After all that,
I do have him at 90 wins because between Christopher Sanchez, assuming Zach Wheeler comes back healthy, Nola, we know every other year he comes back to form. I think they have more than enough. Painter is going to be a good pitcher. I think they got more than enough in the rotation to beat up on teams like the Marlins, like the Nationals. I think they're going to still be there, but I think they're going to win 90, and they're not going to look great doing it.
Joe, let me get back to you on another piece in that prediction there. But Tom, I want to talk to you for a second. I know you got the Braves at the end there. I got the Marlins, so we're feeling confident that an NL East team's going to sneak in there. But I really want to talk about your Central because you and I share the same Central Division winner. And I feel like you and I have the same mentality as to why we feel like the Brewers are going to win the Central. Let me hear from you, though.
It's because everyone every year tries to pick not the Brewers, and they say, "Oh, the Cubs, look what they did this offseason. The Cardinals, look what they did this offseason." And then who wins the division? The stupid Brewers. The Brewers win the division, and they lost Freddie Peralta to the Mets. You know what? They're gonna find some other guy who no one's ever heard of, and he's gonna have 28 starts and a 3.2 ERA, and that's just what the Brewers do. They kind of just keep on supplanting
100%
their team, and it's like at this point just not going to pick against them. Like I will put the Brewers to win the Central until they don't win the Central.
I'm that guy. I've literally been one of those guys for the last few years. Every single time they lose somebody big in the offseason, I'm like, they're not sniffing the playoffs. So guess what I'm doing, Tom? They're making the playoffs now. So let's see if it works against them. They're making the playoffs. They're winning the Central. I got them for 88 games. So not that impressive, just edging out the Cubs here in my little scenario. But I'm right there with you on why I picked the Brewers. But Joe, we got to talk about the Pirates getting in at wild card 3.
Listen, we know the Pirates are a joke every year. Mm-hmm. They don't go all in. I get it. I understand, but I need everybody to look at what this team did in the offseason. Yes, they only won 71 games last year. They have a rotation headed by Paul Skeens. They got Mitch Keller, who's a good pitcher. They got Bubba Chandler, the number 2 prospect in pitcher prospect in baseball beyond Nolan McLean. They got Jared Jones, a former top pitcher prospect coming back from Tommy John surgery midseason. I like that. What'd they do? They went out and got Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn. I don't like
Marcelo
them.
Zuna.
Just a bunch
Marcelo
of
Zuna.
C+B- guys.
Jackson Garcia. All of a sudden, you go look at the lineup structure, and the lineup structure is 7 professional bats deep. So I like what they did. I think they're going to add. Connor Griffin's going to be their shortstop by mid-year because they're not going with Triolo. Triolo's not playing shortstop for them come June. So Connor Griffin, once he gets his service time, once they get the extra year of service time, he's going to be up. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of juice in there. You're going to have a lot of juice in there by June. You're going to have Paul Skeens in there every 5th day. That ballpark's going to be sold out. You're going to have the top shortstop prospect or second top shortstop prospect in all of baseball on your infield. And you have professional bats to surround them with. I like what they're doing, and I think they got the ammunition.
Did anybody see that, or it was just me? Joe says, "Oh, they're going to sell it out every 5." And Tom, who fucking hates PNC Park, he says like they're not going to sell it out.
You think they're selling out every skiing start?
No, I don't.
I don't know about that.
That's good. All right, let's move on. We're going to jump all the way to the World Series. Now we're in October. Who could snatch victory away from the Los Angeles Dodgers? Fucking nobody. Everybody's got the Dodgers winning the World Series. But it's funny because the Yankee-Met split on our show is actually the same exact thing. Joe and Corey
up 2-0, by the way.
Mariners. Tom and I have the Dodgers beating the Yankees. So, Corey, let's talk about it. Dodgers, Mariners.
Yeah, I just think the Mariners are they're going to have a good year. I did have them as the best record team in the AL when we went through our AL predictions. Listen, from a Dodgers standpoint, until proven otherwise, it's impossible not to go Dodgers. I hope they lose. I'm at the point where I probably take any team in the National League, maybe except the Phillies and the Braves, but just about any other team in the National League over the Dodgers. I would take any team at this rate in the American League over the Dodgers in terms of who I want to win. I can't go against them. I can't. None of us can. So I went with the Mariners. I just think, again, I know we've been saying for a while they got such great pitching. Hopefully this year the guys stay healthy, they deliver. And I think bringing Naylor back was such a big move. If they would have let him walk, that would have been a big blow. That's such a nice piece for that team. I think Julio Rodriguez is looking a lot better. I know he struggled with like a couple years ago, had a little bit of a down year. I think he's going to be electrifying this year. So I went with the Mariners.
The case, the Yankees teams making the World Series like I'm dating Sidney Sweeney. Go ahead, Tom.
The case against the Dodgers is they went to the World Series 2 years ago and they won it. Obviously, last year went to the World Series in 7 games, won it. WBC this year, Ohtani started in the year over in Japan. It's a lot of baseball, and they're guys, and they always find a way to supplant that roster. But the core of it is getting older. And Freddie Freeman, at some point, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are not going to be Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. It's got to happen at some point. Now, Ohtani's, he's still right in the prime of his career. I'm not predicting the fall off there. But I do think that could happen, and I think it's going to shock people when it does. Now, the thing is that they're probably then going to go out and defer $500 million and sign the next guy, and it won't matter. But I could see them getting caught. My issue is I didn't see the team to do it this year. I don't know if there's a sleeping giant team. Granted, again, the Blue Jays, for all intents and purposes, beat them last year in the World Series. Just didn't end up winning the game. I didn't see it, but I could see the fall off happen.
I will add this, and this is not my bold prediction for later, although it's somewhat related. I do have the Dodgers over the Yankees here. Again, this is a hunch, but I also do think in the defeat of the Yankees, this will be the final appearance Aaron Judge makes in a World Series. And it's going to be in a losing effort. Joe?
Yeah, my thing is, you cannot look at the paper at this particular moment in time and see there is no glaring weakness in the Dodgers, right? Even with unhealthy pitchers, they have too many options. There's too many ways to get around that for them. They had one weakness going in to last year's World Series, and that was the closer position. What they do, they went out and signed the best closer in baseball, according to ESPN. They turned around and supplemented that by adding maybe the best left fielder in baseball, or second best left fielder. Now the Soto's moved over there. You can't take a team that's won the last 2 World Series, add those 2 guys to it. When we talk about, we were just talking about with the Phillies, when we're talking about supplement and decline in age that you're getting from your star players, the Phillies have done nothing to supplement the decline of their superstars. They just keep re-signing their superstars in their mid-30s. The Dodgers have turned around and signed 2 young players to supplement the decline in their superstars. And when they signed Kyle Tucker, that's how you supplement the decline of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. You go out and get a Kyle Tucker. So at this point, I don't think anybody is equipped to beat them. Now, the one caveat I will say, the only way to me to beat them is one of these other contenders has to go out and get Tyreek Skubal if he becomes available. That is the only way, because then when you're talking about a 7-game series against the Dodgers, you go into that series, the game Skubal pitches, he's going to be favored in. You're going to be the team favored in those matchups. So that is the only way to me, is if the Mets, the Cubs, the Mariners, the Yankees, they go out and get a Skubal. Now all of a sudden you change the equation. You say, I'm favored in 2, even 3 games if I'm set up properly. I only have to win 1 or 2 extras, not 4. The series does not become a 4-game series. It becomes a 5-game series.
True.
All right.
Good point.
Okay.
Let's move it on. We're going to move it on to the awards. Okay.
Sometimes and we're nail on head.
Yeah, you did. You just did it there. All right, Cy Youngs. Let's get into the Cy Young Award. American League side first. And not much change. Look at this. Garrett Crochet across the board, except for your boy here. And I'll tell you, I'll be straight with you folks. I got all these predictions sent to me before I made a few of mine. And I did have Garrett Crochet logged in. And I didn't want to be boring. I didn't want to just, okay, everybody went Garrett Crochet. I wanted to put the spotlight on another pitcher here. But the second choice I felt good about was Brian Wu. I don't think Tarek Skubal is going to repeat for a third time. Part of it being he may get dealt mid-season. And now he could also potentially flip to a different league. So I didn't want to play around with that. Although I did think about it. I was like, I didn't want to play around with it. Crochet, though, I don't blame anybody for making that choice. I mean, he took the next step in 2025. We talked about it at length during the player rankings. It was what I feared about Crochet was, look, we really only saw it out of a bullpen role with the White Sox on a low market team. And then he came over and did what he did last year. And where did he rank, guys? Four for starting pitchers. Yeah. So I don't blame anybody at all for thinking Crochet is going to be the leading candidate to Cy Young. But I want to throw a sympathy to Brian Wu. I think he's emerged as the top starter for the Mariners, who's got a rotation that is arguably the best in the league. But I think Brian Wu is going to take that next step to get closer to guys like Crochet and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Paul Skeens this year. But yeah, guys, talk Crochet. Let's hear it.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say just to add to your point with Wu. I mean, I like Wu, and he's a big reason why I have the Mariners making it to the World Series. I went Crochet though because I just think he has such great stuff. I know he was my Cy Young prediction last year, probably went a year too early, but if it wasn't for Skubal, he had a legit shot. And I think now that he's got a full season of starting under his belt, I think that's gonna catapult him to potentially be even better this year, because there was always that weight you had last year. Well, can he withstand a full season's worth of innings coming from the starting spot as opposed to being out of the pen and this, that, the other thing? So I think Crochet is set up for more success this year than last, and that's why I'm doubling down last year and this year. He's my prediction for Cy Young.
For the sake of time, I'm just going to jump right to the National League Cy Young, and I'll talk to Joe and Tom about the National League Cy Young predictions that we have here. For the NL, a little bit more diversity, just a little bit more here. I got Paul Skeens again, pulling it off 2 years in a row. Can't really blame me putting Skeens there. I'm very curious on these picks here, especially with Joe, with Chris Sale. Let's talk about that for a second. Joe, who's a Mets fan and loves to kill JoJo about his Atlanta Braves, goes with an Atlanta Brave and one on the elder side, Chris Sale, Joe.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, Sale, we know when he's healthy, he's as good as anybody. I'm looking at it from I go back to last year. He pitched 125 innings to a 2.5 ERA. He had 165 strikeouts in that frame. His injury was because he dove for a ball and cracked a rib, diving for a ball against a hapless Mets team in like the ninth inning of a game. He led 10-0. So it's not an arm injury that he's had before. It's not a leg injury. I think it's an injury that now that he's come back from, it's a complete rearview mirror. So with that being said, I think he's got a really, really good shot at reestablishing the fact that when he is healthy, he is as good as anybody. And he's a guy that is, if he can rattle off another couple of healthy years, is on a Hall of Fame track. So to me, I wanted it to be different. I didn't want to just hand it to Skeens. Same with Skubal on the other one. That's why I went with Crochet. I think Crochet, at the end of the day, him and Skeens are 1A and 1B, and then there's a drop-off in terms of stuff. As much as I wanted to pick Jacob deGrom to win his third Cy Young, I couldn't. But I'll be rooting for him too. So that was my logic. Is I looked at Sales last year. I said that was pretty freaking good when he was healthy. And now I'm going with that this year.
Corey's got Yamamoto in this spot, and Tom singing the Yamamoto praises once again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't put the number one starting pitcher as your favorite to win Cy Young award. Yamamoto is my number one starting pitcher in baseball. Apparently, other people disagree with me, and you're all idiots. Okay. I have him win the Cy Young. He's gonna have the numbers. And he's going to be on a team that is going to keep him in games. And I know we've kind of gotten beyond wins and that, which conversation for another day, but I would like to go back on that as well. I think he's going to have the numbers. He's going to, be in big games. The Dodgers are going to be the best team in baseball. And yeah, I have Yamamoto win the Cy Young.
Let's take a look at the rookie of the years. All right. For the American League side, again, little diversity here. Trey Savage across Joe and Tom. Who can blame him, though? Savage was incredible throughout the playoffs, coming up through multiple systems last year to make his major league debut. He didn't graduate, so he is eligible for Rookie of the Year candidacy this year. And then Corey and I went behind the plate for our guys here. Corey, talk about Samuel Basallo.
Well, I mean, Basallo, he's got some pop, man. And I know he got a little lick of major league time last year, but he's coming up still. He's still a rookie. He's going to get a lot of time at DH, but he's also going to catch because ultimately, I do think Rushman's going to end up on the disabled list or injured list, whatever you want to call it now, at least some point this season for something. So he will get a lick at catching, but he's got so much pop. And I know it's hard to take spring training too seriously, but when you're looking at young players, it gets exciting. And his OPS right now, 974. He's hitting the ball really well in spring. I went with Basallo for Rookie of the Year.
And I'm feeling good about my a catcher myself. Carter Jensen, not a player talked about often here. Kansas City, I feel good about. I think it's really going to be a toss-up between the Royals and the Tigers. And I think we all kind of felt that way when it came to the AL Central. We've seen these steps that Vinny Pasquantino and Jack Caglianone took in just the WBC alone. I'm curious of Carter Jensen's usage, but I think between those three players, I think the Royals got themselves a nice little young Bobby Witt Jr. Between those four players, the Royals got a nice core going here. I'm curious how Jensen's going to be used because right now he's projected to be the starting DH despite Salvador Perez being 53 and catching still, and good for him. Jensen's going to have to step into that role, and who better to kind of rub off of than Salvador Perez. So I think Carter Jensen's going to be a guy that's going to surprise a lot of people this year and step right into it. But yeah, Joe, Trey Savage, again, you can't take anything away from him. This is the guy who may be netting Cy Young Award votes in 2026.
Yeah, exactly. And my perspective, I thought about Jensen. My thing with Basallo, I don't know if he's going to play quite enough to be the big factor at the end. And from my perspective, Savage is starting day one in the rotation. He's going to be in that rotation come hell or high water. So I think you're going to see a full year of him. And after what he displayed in the playoffs, how can you pick against him?
That's where I was too. I think the hardest thing about Rookie of the Year for both leagues is you got to pick a guy who's going to be there all year, or at least most of the year. The guys that are projected to come up or projected to try to find a spot they might just not get the run. Where Savage is going to get it. He's got to get as long as he's healthy.
Well, I think that's the case with all these players. All these players are projected to be starters in some capacity from the rip.
But even it's where they're going to play. It seems like if you told me of these three guys, which one's going to get the most playing time? I know pitching and catching offensive players are different. Savage is going to get the ball every fifth day. As long as he's healthy, he's getting the ball every fifth day. Right. I think the other guys, they could, something could play out where it's not a fit, need to go back down. They're not clicking immediately. And that's where you run into potential problems with being Rookie of the Year.
The National League Rookie of the Year, again, is most likely going to be Nolan McLean. And again, I did not want to just be the guy that added to Nolan McLean, and I wanted to do it too, but I saw everybody else did it, and I was like, let me add another player here. So just like Brian Wu added the sympathy vote to Owen Casey. And Owen, again, WBC, he's been killing it for Team Canada. He's going to probably step into a significant role with the Marlins anytime soon. I just don't know. Unlike Jensen and Basallo and Yusevich from the previous page, even McLean here, there's no guarantee how Casey's going to start with the Marlins this year. So it's going to have to take for him to come up midseason and then go on a run. So I got Owen Casey in that mix, but in all reality, Joseph, I Nolan McLean, I think this is his award to lose.
Yeah, and again, similar to the same reasons about Savage, McLean's coming into day one being the number 2 starter in the Mets rotation. He's going to get all the opportunity in the world. The Mets are relying on him to be a top of the rotation guy, so he's going to get the most opportunity, I think, of any rookie. I think Connor Griffin's going to be 2 months behind due to service time. I think Owen Casey's a good pick. I like the pick. I think J.J. Weatherholt's another one who might get an opportunity down the line as well to be in St. Louis. But for me, I think Nolan McLean is going to get that opportunity. He's going to probably start 30 games as long as he doesn't get injured, knock on wood. And when you do that as a starter, as a rookie, you are ahead of the 8 ball in terms of rookie of the year voted.
All I know is he better win it. I've been hearing that Nolan McLean is basically like, I mean, Jacob deGrom is like his like lapdog. Like Nolan McLean is like, they basically already built the statue.
Can he at least win? Can he at least win tomorrow night's game?
Hey, let's
that's all I'm looking at right now when it comes to him.
Bad start. I kind of almost want to go back on my prediction here after his last WBC outing. If he has any, I mean, it would be embarrassing for him to get lit up again, right? Right?
All right. American League MVP. Getting to the big hardware here. And the American League MVP, across the board, looks like it's either going to be Judge or Bobby Witt. Now, Joe went Bobby Witt. Mm-hmm. Joe, I had Bobby Witt penciled in for a while, too. And then I sat back and I was like, well, I have a narrative I really want to play for bold predictions. So I pulled back on it. And I went with Aaron Judge in that spot again. I mean, you can't blame Judge for being in the spot. But then again, Joe, I know Bobby Witt was your first-round draft pick from the draft you had this past week at the number 2 selection. And when it comes to starting a franchise around a player, I can't blame you for going with Bobby Witt there in that spot.
Yeah, and again, it's not like I think Judge is going to have a bad year. But what Judge did last year is silly. I mean, it's dare I say Bonds like, the numbers he's putting up. So even a 5% regression puts you at a phenomenal season in the MVP conversation, but it does open the door for a guy like a Bobby Witt, where if Bobby Witt hits 35 home runs and steals 40 bases, and the Royals make a playoff spot, you're talking about a guy who's going to be in the conversation. He's a Gold Glove shortstop. So I'm just taking the fact that Bobby Witt is a totality player. And
so is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is a little Judge player. He's Judge. Won the batting title last year and also hit with 50 whatever hole. I mean, he is a complete. What Bobby Witt, I gotta say, WBC watching him play all these games. Not that I watch every Royal game. It's a treat to watch him play, especially defensively. I just think Judge can he can fill up the stat page.
Well, let me ask, because I kind of mentioned my hand. Like I said, I had Bobby Witt written down. But Corey, Tom, was it between Judge and Bobby Witt for you?
For me, it was firm Judge.
I gave him no consideration here. It was just I just wrote Judge.
If I took Judge off, Witt would have been my guy. But I went Judge all the way.
Yeah, I think it's very interchangeable. I don't think there's really a wrong answer between these two. I have a narrative I want to play around Aaron Judge, but
I think if it wasn't Judge, I actually would give it to Vladdy. If Jays win the division and Vladdy, I could see that happening.
Yeah,
in that scenario.
100%. That's a good one to throw right into that mix there as a finalist. All right, National League MVP. Was there any bias here? Oh yeah, hell yeah, there was. Juan Soto.
Oh, wow, 3.
Juan Soto.
Wow.
Look, okay, first I'm gonna say this was not a sympathy vote. I did have Ohtani penciled in there because until we get to a point where Ohtani could get knocked off and the glazing will stop, I will continue to vote Ohtani into the spot. Now, clearly, Corey and Joe have their guy in there. I've seen him in that spot before, especially with Joe. But Tom, let's talk about it. You have Juan Soto there.
I mean, he better at this point, right? The Mets gave him all this money. He's the face of the Mets. It would be, again, like the McLean thing would be kind of embarrassing if he didn't really cement himself and get in there. I also do think that although Major League Baseball literally can't get enough of Ohtani, I do think voter fatigue, we see it across all sports, is a real thing. And I think there could be a point where if the Mets, we had this conversation last year, if the Mets won the division and had a similar-ish record to the Dodgers, I think Soto had a really good case of winning MVP. And I could see a scenario if the Mets winning the division. If Juan Soto has another just fantastic Juan Soto-like season, I could see the writers saying, okay, like what? We don't want to give him a fifth consecutive MVP, 4th consecutive across both leagues MVP. and maybe we're just like we're gonna get a vote to the other way. I mean, right? Like how many MVPs has LeBron James won in the NBA? He hasn't won it 10 times. Has he been the best player in the league for like 15 years? Yeah, but like they eventually voters get tired of it, and I can see the guy in Pittsburgh and the guy in Miami be like, you know what? I'm not voting for him this time. I'm giving it to Soto. Or I'm giving it to someone else.
Also,
and he would deserve it too. I'm not saying Soto wouldn't deserve it.
You're within the margin. If you play for a super team, you can't be an MVP. And that's my problem with Ohtani. He's playing on a team where they're all the MVP. Betts is an MVP. Freeman's an MVP. Tucker has the ability to be an MVP at any
Yamamoto's the best pitcher in baseball.
Yamamoto has a chance to be a Cy Young winner. When you're on that type of team, at some point you gotta say, okay, the MVP can't be on the Dodgers. Dodgers making the playoffs with or without you. They're winning 100 games with or without you.
Yeah, but if he's putting up absurd numbers to boot, I have a hard time. I get the whole voter fatigue thing, and I'm not the Ohtani fan here, but I feel like that's kind of unfair to negate that from him. If he puts up another video game number season, I'm sorry, he's got to be the guy.
Here's my thing, and I'll throw it to Corey. Here's my thing. In this season, if Juan Soto leads the Mets to a division title after they got rid of Alonso, after they lost Diaz to the Dodgers, traded McNeil.
They brought in Freddie Peralta,
and they did bring that. If the Mets have deconstructed their roster and reconstructed in one offseason, and Juan Soto's now the guy with no real protection behind him.
Hold on. That's not fair. I think there's an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made. Yeah, they deconstructed their roster, but they actually probably got better.
Left 2025. I agree with that, but I think he puts himself in a unique category that Ohtani doesn't. The Dodgers got better when they were already the best. The Mets got better after they were crap last year.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here, too, again, it's the matter of you take Soto off the Mets, and the Mets are not a playoff team. You take Ohtani off the Dodgers are a playoff team. They're division winners, let alone a playoff team.
I think that's MVP awards are always a storyline, right? The writers are the ones who vote on this, and I think that could be a talking point that kind of goes throughout the season.
Hey, real quick, Tom. Apparently you don't know shit, according to Big Slick.
I had nothing to say to Big Slick.
Okay.
I don't waste my time.
That was kind of disappointing. All righty. Well, let's get into it.
I'm happy he got the Cheeto dust off his fingers to type that out. But
all righty. Let's get into it. My favorite part of this whole prediction thing. Both predictions. All right. Let's showcase it all. We'll talk through it all. Corey, Favs, yours is actually not too hard to digest here because you kind of made mention of this earlier. But you have the A's as a buyer and contender. We'll take this down one by one, folks. But Corey, let's if you want to elaborate a little bit more on it, though, go for it.
I mean, the big thing with the A's, you saw in my predictions earlier. I just think they're gonna have a fun team. And when you look at the A's over the last several years, they haven't been that good. The whole moving fiasco and empty ballparks and just a complete and utter crapshoot. But I think this is going to be a fun year for the A's. I think the A's are really going to turn it around here, make some fun, make some noise. I think they're going to be buyers. It's always like, oh, who could the A's sell off next? Who could I poach off the A's? I think they actually go out and get a starting pitcher at the trade deadline this year. So I'm going in on the A's. My other bold prediction, though, I do have one, too. I just want to make a call out. I actually think Kodai Senga, I want to make a statement here, is going to be back to his old self and a potential all-star for the Mets. Again, that's putting together the story for the Mets winning the NL East. A couple of things going to have to break right. You look at Kodai Senga, he's got life on his balls again, all right? He's throwing 99 right now in spring training. His glow fork is looking pretty good. I know it's a guy that outside of 2 months last year, outside of that August and September stretch where he was rough, he's been a great pitcher. His career ERA is 3.00. And that's with the last 2 months last year being dreadful. He still had a 3 ERA last year, despite having the dreadful 2 months. Kodai Senga in the first half last year was the favorite pitcher to make the NL All-Star game because he had the best ERA in baseball at a 1 and change. So I think Senga's going to bounce back too. I want to make that call out also in addition to the A's. Just because I had it on the sheet too.
Corey's cheating 2 ball predictions. That's too many. But I'll make 2 points. 1, Shea Langeliers, Nick Kurtz, Jacob Wilson, Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker. What do they all have in common, fellas? They were in our ESB player rankings. The A's have something coming up here. And look, I don't blame Corey Favs for putting the A's in this spot. And I don't think anybody here thinks he's crazy for this. This could absolutely be a narrative that happens. Imagine if the A's get the Luis Severino we saw last night throughout the majority of the season, add a starting pitcher on top of that, add a bullpen to that. Oh, man, we're talking about a good team. Now, you mentioned Kodai Senga. Obviously, for the sake of the game, love Kodai Senga. Would love to see him, kind of find that version of himself that we saw from a couple of years ago. But speaking of Mets arms, I guess our arm here, Joe, let's talk about your prediction here with McLean and Benj and their Rookie of the Year finish.
Yeah, I think we touched on McLean before, but let's talk on Carson Benj. Carson Benj was basically told by the Mets, you perform in spring training and you have a chance to win the starting right fielder's job. What has he done this spring training? He is hitting 406.
Yeah, he's killing it.
With a 472 on base percentage.
Killing
He's 2 for 2 today with 2 walks and a double. He has done everything possible. And to be fair, he's been pushed by Mike Talkman. He's been pushed by MJ Melendez. And he's been pushed by Christian Pache. And he has done a phenomenal job. He's 23 years old. My bold prediction is McLean and Benj are going to finish 1-2 in the Cy Young vote, in the Rookie of the Year voting. That they are going to be the future for this team, that they can hang on as homegrown players, and they're going to be part of this core with Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor. And that's going to get the Mets rolling in the right direction for a very long time. And it also means that the Mets would get 2 draft picks this year if that were to happen. So that's my bold prediction. I think the kid looks phenomenal. I think he's going to win the right fielder's job and start day one in a New York Mets uniform.
Chad, I asked a question here. What are your bold predictions? I'll read through them all after we get through these last 2 remaining ones. I want to hear your bold predictions ahead of the 2026 season. You're yapping. So let's talk about Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, I think Cal Raleigh has the fall off. He hit 60 home runs last year. Just certified D nozzle so far doing the WBC. And I think it was a bit of a fluke. I see him hitting under 35 homers, which is still really good. He's going to turn 30 years old towards the end of the season. It's not like he's 25 and broke onto the scene. Before this year, the most home runs he had hit in the season is 34. And I think he comes back down to earth in a big way. Still very good catcher. I think he comes back down to earth in a big way, and he's under 35.
Wow. Cutting the home runs in half, too. I mean, again, I could absolutely see. I don't think Cal's going to repeat a 50-plus homer season, but to say almost half of it's gone is kind of wild. I mean, he still plays at T-Mobile Ballpark, which is Hitter's Park right there.
For the record, his line, I looked it up, to hit over 40, he was like minus 135. So he's favored to hit over 40 homers. So, staying under 35 is definitely not in the betting favorite.
So you talked about the runner-up to the MVP last year. I'm going to talk about the MVP from last year from the American League. And this is one, again, not one I don't like giving. And I don't even know if this is technically a prediction for this year, because it might more just be a prediction for what's to come after. I think we're going to be looking at Judge's final prime season. Now, although I enjoy the video game metrics, this is not really a bad thing, because I still think Judge's depreciation will be an excellent baseball player that's not putting up the insane production that he is. The problem is...
So you're saying this is his final prime season, though, right?
This is like the final, you're getting...
How is that?
So I was going to say, somehow, Rich, you've made a worse prediction than last year when you said World Series and then a walk-off.
No, that's 2 years ago. That was
2 years ago, because we won't know if this is true until the end of
But it has to do with this season, though. It'll be his final prime season in 2026. How is it not a 2026?
So wait a second. Your bold prediction for this year is that Aaron Judge is going to be Aaron Judge. That's your bold prediction for this year. That's not a bold prediction.
Joe,
well, the last
next
time,
year,
though. This is the last time he's going to be this guy.
But we won't know that until next year.
Exactly.
You won't even
know after the fact.
Tom, you won't know that for 3 years.
That's why,
because you could have a down year next year and then go back to video game numbers.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
This
it's
truly
the gift
might
that
be
keeps
worse
on
than
giving.
the walk-off. It might be worse than the walk-off.
I don't think it is.
Predictions: Aaron Judge is going to be Aaron Judge.
At least we would know if the walk-off happened by the end of the season.
That's the prediction.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge is going to be Aaron Judge, guys. But don't worry. It's the last time he's going to be Aaron Judge
is my prediction.
in this current form of Aaron Judge. That's what you said.
But this is it. This is the last time he's going to be this version of Aaron Judge. I think that's pretty bold.
No,
I think that's pretty bold.
That's terrible.
I don't think that's terrible at all. I think that's pretty bold. To say that, okay, hey, folks, the window of him being a video game character is going to shut down after this year. I mean, that's pretty bold.
No. It'd be a bold prediction if you said it was this year, but you didn't say that. You said next year.
Well, how am I going to know? That's why I said the final prime season is going to be this year.
But
because above the thing it says bold predictions for 2026.
We'll find out next year.
We'll find out the end of next year.
We'll find out 2 years from now.
Oh God.
Rich, I don't think
Rich, I think what we have to do.
Rich, you know you're cooked when Joe and I are in agreement. You know you're absolutely deep fried when Joe and I are both.
No, he agrees.
You're an idiot.
Rich has a very astute prediction.
It's an anonymous listener. He's not even willing to put his name behind it.
That was probably Rich.
I have an idea. And again, it depends on it. Let's see if Judge is healthy and puts up the year we expect Judge to. If so, Rich, you have to do the same bold prediction next year, but the reverse, and say Judge is out of his prime, and that's it. You back to back.
Last season was his prime season.
Yep.
I gave myself 2 years worth of predictions. I don't have to worry about coming back to this. Let's see it, guys. Let's see your bold predictions. I'm sure they are better than mine. All right, here we go. LI. Bold prediction.
Yankees and Phillies are the LIs, please. We
Yankees and Phillies are the two most disappointing teams in baseball. Which I think is more in line to what we've kind of been talking about. I mean, the Yankees and Phillies are kind of on the same plane for a while. I mean, we all have them still making the playoffs, but I mean, that's, kind of crazy. Bold prediction. Yankees.
No, we don't. Again, no more LI. He has 75 bold predictions. We're done. No, skip.
Standings prediction. Hot take. Oakland wins division. Non-standings hot take. Cam Schlittler will end top 10 in Cy Young. Tom, what do you think of
that? That's a bold prediction. And that's a good, bold prediction.
Big Slick says, bold prediction, Brian Cashman and Boone will not return in 2027. That's in my territory because it's a prediction.
I mean, it's a prediction for the off season. Frankly, it's a little bit better than yours.
But you'll know by the last day of the season, or like the last,
you'll know by like November. But yeah, I mean, that's a bold prediction.
Hitman goes, my bold prediction is the Yankees trade Luis Hill by the deadline. I mean, I don't know about bold because I think Luis Hill might be one of those guys out of a starting pitcher job.
I think the Yankees have been trying to trade Luis Hill for like 3 years. So yeah, I don't know how bold that is.
It's a prediction. I don't think it's a bold prediction, but I think Reed Detmers will be dog shit. Not a bold prediction. Spencer Jones takes over Trent Grisham by the second half of the season. Joe, what do you think of
that? I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of people that see a regression in Grisham.
You'd also have to jump over Dominguez. So
you'd have to. The only problem is Dominguez can't play center field,
and Jones can play well. He's very good defender.
It's a curious one, but I wouldn't. I'd say it's got a 30% chance of happening. So depends on your definition of bold.
Yep. I think that's it. I don't think anything else came in. So there you have it. Predictions for the 2026 season. So let's wrap this damn thing up. Corey, Favs, let's do it first with Instagram. I'll go through X and then we'll close the shit out. Go ahead, Corey.
On Instagram, go ahead and follow us at Empire State of Baseball. You'll find our archive segments, meme reels, episode previews. You could watch the show on the gram. So if you are, thank you. But shift over to YouTube because we can't see your comments on Instagram Live. So go ahead and switch to YouTube if you'd like to interact with us. But go ahead and give us a follow at Empire State of Baseball. Over 8,000 followers and growing.
Michael Lorenzen, who would start the final, is in to pitch for Italy right now.
Oh.
It is 2-1 Italy in the 5th. So we are going to see where this goes and who Italy will start tomorrow.
Come on, Jacob. Jacob, I thought you said Michael Lorenzen was tapped to start tomorrow. All right, X. Let's talk about X then. ESP Podcast, ESP NYM, ESP NYY. That's all the main pages. Get us all follow individually. Make sure to stay tuned to all our live content, not only across X, but here on our live streams. There you see our schedule. Bronx Take Monday through Wednesday/Thursday. Queens Boulevard on Friday. And we have Extra Innings, which is going to take place in about 5 minutes time over on the main page. We did introduce that we are going to have at least one new show entering the live stream library. Corey Favs and I revealed it on Friday. That show is called Shape Up. And Shape Up is going to star Keith alongside Corey Favs, alongside Joe Pugliese, and alongside Phil from Shirley. And they are going to talk shop around the New York Metropolitans. And like kind of Corey mentioned this on Friday, and he's absolutely right in it. This is going to be very desegmented. It's actually going to be much like Barbershop Field. We're just going to talk about the New York Mets. Well, not me specifically, but we're just going to sit here and talk about the Mets. Nothing crazy, no gimmicks, no games, nothing nuts. Maybe we'll get there eventually, but it's just going to be open conversation about the New York Mets for now. I mean, that's talking shop around the New York Mets. Shape Up, which is going to be sponsored by City Fades Barbershop and SMP. Corey and Joe looking forward to this project getting off the ground. We'll let you guys know officially the debut episode, so stay with us, but it will be a Thursday night at 8 p.m. show. We just haven't figured out yet if it's going to be this Thursday or the following Thursday, but we'll let you guys know ASAP. But that's going to be it for this episode of Empire State of Baseball. Let's take it around the room, wrap this thing up. Corey Favs.
USA. Let's go Team USA. Let's get that W tomorrow.
All right. Rooting for Italy, up 2-1 right now. Hoping the USA gets a chance at revenge.
Yeah, said the same thing before. Let's get that to happen.
USA. Let's do this thing first time since 2017, guys. It's going to be a great game tomorrow. Italy, Venezuela is still in progress, so we got a lot to watch while we're doing Extra Innings. So we'll see you over on X for Extra Innings. Take care.